Who pulls your strings?
Piss off! Bollocks to plan, eh? I like this. The view's great up here.
Growing up, I never knew this guy's name. Most of us didn't. Back in the VHS era, when you picked up a movie by its cover or by some wild painted artwork, character actors didn't often have their faces on the box. And Brion James? He was the king of the uncredited promise. He was rarely on the poster, rarely the lead villain, and almost never the face the marketing cared about. But here is the thing. Every time I rented some random action flick, sat down, hit play, and he walked into the frame, I knew the movie had just upgraded itself. Because Brion James wasn't just a villain, he was the villain's villain. He was the henchman with more personality than the main antagonist. He was attitude walking on two legs. He was chaotic, funny, weirdly charming, and deeply human. Even when he had a shotgun, a cigar, and extremely questionable life choices. For all of us who grew up in the 80s and the 90s, Brion James was like a secret handshake. If you spotted him in a movie, you knew you were about to have a good time. Today, let's talk about the man behind all those unforgettable faces and characters. Brion James was born in 1945 in Redlands, California, and spent his early childhood in Beaumont. And this is where his story becomes almost mythic. His parents owned a small movie theater, and Brion once said, "My story is like Cinema Paradiso. Every night of my life since I was 2 years old, I ran movies." Just imagine that. You're 2 years old, learning to walk, and also learning how to change reels. His earliest memories weren't toys or cartoons, they were flickering projectors and the smell of film stock. After high school, he studied theater arts at San Diego State University. Then he moved to New York, where he immersed himself in the stage scene, taking any role he could find, sharpening the edge of his voice, his posture, his whole presence. This was where he learned to command attention, even when he wasn't the lead. By the time he returned to Los Angeles, he became one of the most recognizable faces on television, even if nobody knew his name yet. He played roles in TV series like Miami Vice, and he had the perfect energy for it.
Nice night. Stars shining, moon's got that hazy look.
Slick, dangerous, and unpredictable, the show was full of stylish criminals and morally grey characters, and Brion fit right in. Whenever he appeared, he brought his ticking time bomb vibe and added weight to even small scenes. On Dukes of Hazzard, he often played tough guys or hired muscle, men who weren't exactly genius masterminds, but absolutely ready to start trouble.
All right, boss, you win. When do I get the clean plate?
You cannot talk about 80s TV villains without mentioning the A-Team. Brion showed up there too, because of course he did. And in a classic A-Team fashion, he delivered that perfect blend of threatening and slightly goofy, a villain who could absolutely beat you up, but might also accidentally blow himself up in the process. And in this particular episode, he even shares the screen with Michael Ironside, another iconic villain, which just gives you a warm, fuzzy, only the 80s kind of feeling. He also appeared in Mork and Mindy, The Incredible Hulk, and plenty more, but this is enough to paint the picture. Brion James was everywhere, and he always delivered. The early 1980s were a turning point for him. This is when he moved from that guy on TV to, oh damn, this movie is getting serious. Directed by Walter Hill, Southern Comfort is one of those films that deserves way more attention. It's gritty, atmospheric, and incredibly tense. Brion James plays a half-armed Cajun, standing against a National Guard unit caught in a deadly misunderstanding in the Louisiana Bayou.
On peut faire rien. Maudis-toi.
The movie digs into masculinity, survival, and what happens when you drop unprepared tough guys into real danger. Being armed doesn't make you heroic. Oh, and by the way, I'm working on a full video about Southern Comfort. It just deserves it, and it's dropping later this week.
You ain't got the balls.
Then came 48 Hours, also directed by Walter Hill. It's a much simpler film, a straight-up body cop classic, but one of the all-time best. Eddie Murphy's film debut, Nick Nolte at peak grumpiness. Brion James plays Inspector Ben Kehoe, a fellow policeman working alongside Nick Nolte's Jack Cates. Although he appears as part of the law enforcement team, he remains a largely background figure, but he made such an impression that he even returned in the sequel, Another 48 Hours, with a bigger part this time. This was the moment people finally started asking, who is that guy? And then came the role that immortalized him, Leon Kowalski in Blade Runner. You know the scene, the Void Kampf interrogation, the tortoise in the desert, the sudden violence, the buzzing intensity.
You look down and you see a tortoise, Leon. It's crawling towards you.
Tortoise? What's that?
Leon is unforgettable, which is not easy when you're surrounded by Harrison Ford, Rutger Hauer, Sean Young, and Daryl Hannah, but Brion James stands shoulder to shoulder with all of them, giving one of the film's most iconic performances. He's physically imposing, but emotionally unstable. Scared but dangerous, childlike, and very lethal.
Let me tell you about my mother.
In a movie filled with unforgettable characters, Leon still stands out. This role alone earned Brion James a place in sci-fi history.
Nothing is worse than having an itch you can never scratch.
And after Blade Runner, Brion James became a force of nature. He stacked roles like he was building a cinematic mountain. In Silverado, he gets to lean into classic Western villain energy, a rugged, gritty presence in a film stacked with stars like Kevin Kline, Scott Glenn, and Danny Glover. Even in the crowded cast, Brion makes his moments memorable. In Armed and Dangerous, Brion James switches things up with a more comedic villain turn. The whole film is a wild, chaotic spoof of action movies, and James leans into it beautifully, playing the kind of criminal who's both genuinely threatening and hilariously incompetent. It's another great example of how he could shift gears effortlessly, moving from scary to funny without ever breaking character. Arnold Schwarzenegger versus Jim Belushi in a Russia meets Chicago body cop thriller. Brion James brings sharp edges to the film, adding that unique Brion mix of menace and charisma.
And I ain't telling you shit.
He's the guy who pops up, stirs trouble, and steals a scene or two on his way out.
This is Plan B. Can I talk to you for a minute?
Not now. I'm busy.
Now for me, this one is legendary. Kurt Russell, Sylvester Stallone, and Brion James as the villainous Wreckin, with his unforgettable accent and even more unforgettable grenade in the mouth interrogation scene.
No. I'm sorry. Bye-bye, buddy. Bye, baby.
It's pure late 80s action cinema, testosterone, explosions, one-liners, and Brion is having the time of his life. He's terrifying and hilarious at the same time.
Bloke with me in prison, he's a governor.
Yeah, where's he now? Where's the governor?
This one is Brion's rare good guy roles, or at least a sympathetic one. As General Munro, he gets to play authority instead of chaos, and he nails it. He's warm, grounded, and very funny. It was refreshing to see him not holding a gun or threatening the protagonist for once. And it proves something important. Brion James could play more than villains, he just knew villains better than anyone else. What makes Brion James special is that he never phoned it in. He could have been lazy, he could have just played another henchman, but instead he brought life to every role, even the small ones. He knew how to use his voice like a weapon.
I'm head dog on this farm.
He knew how to tilt his head, raise an eyebrow, or sneer in a way that said more than the script ever could. He carved a career out of personality, not out of leading man good looks, not out of prestige, but out of presence. Tragically, Brion James died of a heart attack in 1999 at just 54 years old. It was sudden, and it left a hole in the world of character actors. He left behind more than 170 film and television credits, and a legacy that lives in the memories of every kid who rented action movies from the video store and thought, "Hey, that guy again. Nice." Brion James wasn't just a villain, he was a cinematic landmark, the kind of actor who could appear for 2 minutes and elevate an entire film. The man whose presence was so strong you remembered him even if you forgot the title of the movie. He wasn't the star, but he stole every scene. He wasn't the hero, but it was impossible to hate him. And he wasn't the name on the poster, of course, but if you grew up in the VHS era, he became a part of your movie memories forever. Brion James wrote himself into film history not with fame, but with unforgettable characters. A legend of the shadows, the villain you always recognized, and one of the greats of character acting. Thanks for watching.